straight into the ground.
Hi. Welcome back to the College Lifter Show. I'm your host, Will, back here, and I'm alone, unfortunately. Kara couldn't join me this week for the show because we don't have the same spring break, so things just didn't work out that way. I know it's terrible, but we will keep pushing on. Now, a couple things to talk about in the world of fitness. First is CrossFit Workout 16.3. It got interesting. I did not want muscle-ups. I was not expecting muscle-ups yet. Kara was, though. She called muscle-ups and a 8-minute workout, so she was close. And it was just, it was not a good workout for me. Just not at that back strength level yet. So, I did the scaled version. It was not as bad as 16.2. That wrecked me for a while. I was hurting after that one. But anyways, Kara did pretty good, I think. She may disagree, but I think she did pretty good. So that got interesting. It was one of those situations for me where, as a lot of y'all know from previous episodes, I've changed my programming a little bit. I've moved towards more back strength and pulling strength development, just because that's a big gap that I had, and it's something that I've never really been able to do, which is kind of interesting. And it's one of these things where, I didn't really do much weightlifting or much body weight work early on. I started halfway through high school doing some strength training because I started playing football, and I was never able to get a strict pull-up back then. Started doing CrossFit, did some bodybuilding, then started doing CrossFit, and started to get, like one strict pull-up. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, so it's not the easiest thing in the world. I know that's a bit of an excuse, and I'll call myself on that in a second, but I am big, and there's a lot of just bone mass that's hanging there, not helping me out very much. So that's it makes it a little tough. But to be able to start working towards something I've never done has been a cool experience. Just the self-gratification of it, of just putting in the work and slowly seeing, like, oh man, last week I struggled with that number of reps, and now I'm just going. It's not phasing me at all. Like, that feels really cool, and it feels really awesome. And especially so Kara's had this experience, and I haven't yet, just because I'm still in the early days. But she had this experience of, she was working in her apartment just with one of those pull-up bars you kind of rock and hang into a door sill, if that's the right word. I don't know. She's the architectural person, so I don't know what it's called, but the door frame, there you go, door frame, that you hang in the door frame. And she was just doing that back at her place, and she was just doing that. She was doing pull-ups, she was doing ring rows off of it, just really working towards that. And she went to the gym, and all of a sudden they had a workout of strict pull-ups. And usually she's not the highest on the leaderboard, I can say it because she said it. And then all of a sudden she's at the top, and everyone's going, where did that come from? And it was just a really nice, gratifying feeling for her. We were talking earlier about this topic, and she was saying that she had heard this quote, which is, work in silence and let the performance bring the praise, or something along those lines. And it was really cool, because I thought that was like just really spot on with, you just put in your work at your house, in the gym when no one's there, off in the corner, and then you start just blowing everyone's mind with how much you've grown. And they didn't see the growth. They didn't see the 1% growth every day. They just see you go from 0 to 100, right? And then everyone's like, wow, that's awesome, great job. And it really just encourages you to keep going. on top of just the everyday stuff of just, oh man, I feel stronger, I can do more, and you start just looking around like, well, I mean, for me, my biggest issue is my back. Like, can't do many pull-ups in a CrossFit workout, obviously can't throw in chest bars and muscle-ups and all that. And also losing position and snatch, because I kind of end up dropping forward because I'm just not strong enough to pull it up and back. And so fixing something that I've never been able to do is just really awesome, because it feels like you open up this whole new world of, oh man, well, I mean, that was holding me back in snatch or in my deadlift, so maybe I should just go try those out again, or maybe I should see how many kipping pull-ups I can do, or maybe, you get really good and you're like, I want to be one of those guys who's doing pull-ups with a weight hanging from a dip belt, and you start doing that. And it just you start to have more fun, because you're now that guy. That guy that when you started working out, you looked at and you're like, that's who I want to be, or I want to be able to do that, or I like how he does this, or she does that. You become that person. So now you're the one just enjoying your time in the gym because you're comfortable, because you're strong, because you feel like you belong there now. You feel like you have become that person. And it's just a really nice thing. And it brings in a lot of confidence, and it ends up being the situation where confidence breeds confidence. So you just start trying other things, and all of a sudden everything starts going in a great direction. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have days where, you go in, like I've had these days where you're like, man, there's a lot of pull-ups. Like, I'm struggling on these last couple of reps. But you just got to take that with the enjoyment of the journey. Like, the struggle is, it's weird to say, but the struggle is half the fun. The ups and downs make it worth it and make it memorable and make you feel appreciative of just getting to that point. Especially if you're one of those New Year's resolutioners who's still going, which if you are, that's amazing. That's awesome. But something to help you keep pushing forward is find something that you've never been able to do, that you never thought you would do. And just start doing that. And just commit to slowly working on it. I mean, you can work on it at your house like she did, or in the corner of the gym like I do. And it may not be strength, it may be mobility. I mean, I know some people that are strong people, but they can't express that strength in something like an overhead squat because they just don't have the mobility, the combination of range of motion and neural control to be able to do it. Especially seems to be the ankles. Like, just the ankles seem to be really tight on a lot of people. But working on that, and then, that's easy to work on at your house. Just get a foam roller, a lacrosse ball, maybe some bands if you want to get fancy with it. And then just show up at the gym one day, and it's going to be overhead squats. And you're going to be like, all right, I got this. You just load it up, and you go, and everyone's like, where did that come from? Like, how did you do that? And now you're that guy. You feel like the top dog because all of a sudden you were able to do this thing that you've never been able to do. And I think there's another element to it of, I used to hear that if you tell people, this was someone in psychology, I forget who this was, if it was a professor or something like that, but that if you tell people what you're going to do, so like you go up to someone and you say, hey, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, or I'm going to back squat 405. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a great thing. That's awesome that you're starting this process to get there. You've already got the gratification. You've already got your reward, even though you haven't done it. And so something that might help you act, and then in that whole kind of paradigm, whoever it was saying that you're less likely to actually go through with it because you already got your reward. Whereas if you do that, just kind of silent work, and just silently, slowly building up, and then everyone sees what you can do, you are more likely to do it, and you still get your gratification. You still get your, social reward of everyone being impressed or proud of you or whatever, or showing someone up, whatever your motivation is. But you actually did the work, and you got the gratification afterwards instead of getting the gratification before, and then you start doing the work, and you're just like, maybe it's not today, my knee's hurting a little bit. Yeah. I forgot my shoes. I forgot my weightlifting shoes. So, yeah, I shouldn't squat today, guys. I'm just going to take today off. And today was supposed to be like a big volume day or something. That is where the problem comes in. Whereas if you haven't got the gratification, you're like, man, I got to do this. Like, it's a little more personal because it starts out for just being for yourself. And then as you start building up, you start getting that confidence. And you're like, oh, hey, there's a lot of weight. Don't psych yourself out with that. But after you get it, be proud of, man, that was a lot of weight. Things are moving in the right direction. And yeah, you're going to have down days, but so does everyone. I have days where I start doing pull-ups. I'm like, man, these last 2 reps are just grinding. Like, it's a struggle. But then it's nice, the next week or 2 weeks after, you sit there, you start doing pull-ups, and you're like, oh, hey, this was giving me problems? This is easy. And then all of a sudden, you start getting that gratification because you start hitting these top numbers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with showing off. And if you want to, like, you start feeling it, and you're like, okay, I feel like I can hit, if your goal is 405 and you squat in the 200s, and you're like, I feel like today's going to be 315. You could just kind of like move where you're squatting from over in the corner to kind of more of a viewable place in the gym where other people can see you, so then everyone can give you that pat on the back afterwards, and that'll even help encourage you more. And it'll help get people kind of coming up to you and being like, man, that's awesome, that's great, you're doing so good. Or the guy who you're trying to beat or compete against, if that's your motivation, sitting in the corner and you see him being like, oh man, he's catching up. That's going to be nice. But don't let yourself get too much of that, or else you'll end up in that gratification place where it's like, oh, well, I've already got the reward, so I'm just going to kind of slow down. No, you can't go too far. You got to keep it in balance. So that's important too, is balancing everything out. You don't want to just go way too hard and throw everything into this one aspect and then have everything else suffer too. Like, you don't want, I'm not going, all right, I'm just going to do pull-ups and rows. Now, obviously, I'm still squatting, I'm still doing CrossFit workouts, I'm still pressing, but my focus is strength. And I'm slowly coming along. And I'm really excited to see how it's, going to evolve over the next couple of weeks. This is a bit of a down week, and here's another thing. If you have a down week like this, like if spring break, you might not have access to a gym, all right? So here's what you do. You go online and you find whatever body weight or band or lightweight stuff you can do to help push you further towards your goals. Like myself, I know I have but I've been I just haven't gotten around to a lot of like the upper back development, the development of stability in the upper back with bands and with static holds and different things like that. So I'm going to be working on that this week because I don't have access to a lot of weights. I've got 2 bands, a red and a gray BEC, something like that. It's a band you can buy at Academy. I'm just going to be working on upper back strength and stability so that I can take the pressure and throw it onto my lat and then build my lat up even more. And also I might throw in some banded curls just so I can build up my bicep to help my bicep let go so my lat can engage even more. And so you find these little things that it's like, okay, this could be a week where I just slack off and I'm like, this is just a down week. Or this could be a week where you're like, man, well, I'm a little beat up, so let me fix my shoulder, let me fix my hip and my ankle and my knee. All right, what else can I do? Well, let me do these little things that I usually neglect and don't ever get to just because I don't have time and there's all this other stuff going on. This is like, think of it as your cleanup week. You're cleaning up the low-hanging fruit that you've been missing just because of life or because of whatever your gym schedule looks like. And that's something that's huge. That's something that's going to pay huge dividends when you go back, mostly because you just haven't been stagnant. And 2, because you've actually improved something. So for me, improving my upper back, all of a sudden I'm probably going to see better pull-up performance and better activation in my pull-ups. So that's just something to think about. If you're on spring break, it's not an excuse just to be lazy. I mean, obviously go out, have fun, go to the beach, do whatever, but definitely don't neglect yourself. Keep treating your body nicely and treating it the way you normally treat it, or else it's just not going to respond the same when you come back, and you won't have that rough, weak back like everyone else if you keep up just a little bit. So that's it for this week. It's kind of a short week. We're going to be working on some other stuff, a lot more gym footage coming soon. So please hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on the website, sealiftershow.com. And we will see you all next week.